Today, we have another NFL mock draft reaction, this one coming from CBS Sports. It's titled Two Quarterbacks from the 2023 Draft to Replace. Could that be Bryce Young? Maybe. Could it be, I doubt it's Anthony Richardson. Could it be Will Levis? Maybe. Who knows? We'll see. And Washington gets another weapon for Jaden Daniels. Before we start, make sure to like, subscribe, go into the description and submit your video ideas. Let's get right into it. With the first overall pick, I have no idea if this is going to be by Super Bowl projection, the other way around, the opposite betting odds. I don't know if this is the current standings, but it's going to be the Patriots taking Travis Hunter out of Colorado. Now, there's been talks on whether Travis Hunter will be a full-time cornerback or full-time receiver when he reaches the NFL level. I think it's most likely going to be full-time receiver just because of the pay gap. I could definitely see him being one of those guys who, like Deion Sanders, his head coach, was able to play both sides of the ball. Come in and timely plays, maybe be more of a cornerback, but if he goes to a nice, versatile offense that has good weapons, can come in, produce some, but mainly play that cornerback position. If he does get drafted to the Patriots at one, it's most likely going to be a wide receiver. I'm not sure how much I like that. In my opinion, if you were going to pick a wide receiver number one, maybe trade down at that point. But if you were to pick a cornerback at number one, I would take Will Johnson over Travis Hunter. And I think about taking Benjamin Morrison over Travis Hunter as well. At two, we have the New York Giants taking Shedeur Sanders, another Colorado player. Right now, for me, after that Alabama Georgia game, I think Jalen Milroe is probably my quarterback one. You have Cam Ward in there as well. You have obviously Shedeur Sanders. You have Carson Beck, Quinn Ewers. Let's see how he is back from his injury. They have a nice couple of games ahead of them. And I guess you have Jackson Dart as well. Those are six guys I could see maybe get in the first round. But for my potential QB ones, it's Shedeur, it's Cam Ward, it's Jalen Milroe, and it's Carson Beck. Those are probably just my top five for right now. To the Giants specifically, I could see them get excited for more of a versatile improviser type quarterback. I think Shador offers that. I think Cam Ward obviously offers that. I think Jalen Milroe can give that, but is obviously more of a runner. But at this point, it's kind of a toss up who that QB1 is going to be in this draft class. And like I say, this year and last year, teams will draft quarterback as high as they have to. If there's a team at pick two that needs to draft a quarterback that's ranked around in the 20s, they're probably going to take him. I'm not saying Shador Sanders is in the 20s, but I'm saying I'm fine with him with him getting picked at two to the New York Giants because it could really be any quarterback at this point. At three, we have Carson Beck to the Carolina Panthers. Now, this one I'm not exactly so sure about. Andy Dalton has proved that it's possible to make it work in this Carolina Panthers offense. And I can see them taking a quarterback like Carson Beck, but I'm just not so sure about pick number three because he's not going to be that much of a ceiling raiser. He's an in the pocket type quarterback. He's not a scrambler. He doesn't improvise that much and he doesn't really get out of the pocket. So at pick three, is this really the type of guy you want to take to be the face of your franchise for the next 10, 15 years? I'm not so sure. I think here I would draft, first of all, Will Johnson for sure. If he's available at pick three, I'm taking him right away. But maybe I look at a different quarterback as well. I'm still cool with Jalen Milroe here at pick three. I'm also cool with um, Cam Ward at pick three. But I think overall, you should probably look at cornerback here. Will Johnson's still on the board. He's my number one prospect. So if he's here at pick three and you don't pick him, I think you're making a mistake. Pick four, we have the Titans picking Quinn Ewers. Okay, I can kind of see the theme in this one. Obviously, in the front, it did say that there was going to be two 2023 quarterbacks replaced, and we could see that being Quinn Ewers and Carson Beck. Similar to the Carson Beck thing, I probably would prefer guys like Jalen Milroe and Cam Ward over Quinn Ewers, or I'd really like them to address that tackle position. You have guys like Will Campbell on the board, Kelvin Banks on the board, two guys I can very much see be top 10 picks. I don't absolutely hate the pick, but this is definitely not the way I would go. We could probably see Quinn Ewers be a Will Levis type guy if he ends up in that Tennessee Titans system with the same protection that Will Levis did. Am I saying Will Levis is a good quarterback just in a bad system? No, he's made some bad plays, but I'm not so sure if I think putting Quinn Ewers in the system is once again like Carson Beck going to raise our ceiling that much higher. At pick five, we have the Broncos taking Mason Graham. 100% cool with this. I think right now he has to be, I'm not going to say a lock for a top 10 because interior defensive lineman will fall, but I'm very cool with him going five to the Broncos. He's going to be a difference maker right away. I think Harbaugh would be very happy if he fell to them wherever the Chargers are at. But I could see him go five to the Broncos. I think this is a fine pick. It's very solid. The Jaguars get an absolute steal at pick six, somehow getting Will Johnson. I think Will Johnson has a great chance to go number one. If you're getting him at pick six, that's going to be an A across the board if I was to grade the pick. But yeah, he is just the best corner that we have in this class, kind of by far. Now, Benjamin Morrison is pretty good, but when you have a cornerback that's 6'2", 200 plus pounds with long arms and really doesn't have any faults at his position, it's kind of hard to not pick him at pick one. So I think the Jaguars are getting a steal. You have a guy who's the most technically sound corner in this class. You have maybe the best or the most athletic corner in this class, even though there's a couple guys there, Siobhan Ravel, Tacario Davis. But Will Johnson, he is the prototypical 2024 new generation type cornerback, and I think the Jaguars would be ecstatic to get him at pick six. Dalen Walker here to the Cardinals at pick seven. I think I'm also cool with this. They need to continue addressing that interior defensive line. Last year they drafted Darius Robinson. We'll see how he does throughout his rookie season, but I think pairing him with a guy like Dalen Walker, I really like. Now, if Mason Graham fell to them, that'd kind of be my dream fit, but I think Dalen Walker, while it might be a bit of a reach, I'm cool with that at pick seven. The Rams are able to snag Will Campbell at pick eight. This is a team I could also see look to target cornerback Benjamin Morrison possibly. But with Will Campbell falling to eight, I think this is a very good pick. I think he has a chance to go number one in real life. I think he has a chance to go top three, and I kind of expect him to go top five. So if you get him at eight for a team that's looking to still compete, looking to get all their weapons back and healthy, like Cooper Kupp, like Puka Nakua, I could really see them try to target more protection for that offensive line. At nine, we have the Cleveland Browns selecting Kelvin Banks. This is another one I like a lot. With Jedrick Wills kind of declining his play and being the last year of his contract, I could definitely see them add another tackle. Jack Conklin being their other tackle and being consistently injured, they definitely have a room for another tackle to come in there. Maybe not start right away, but I think with Will's injury history, with his future free agency, I think Kelvin Banks comes in and probably starts right away for that Cleveland Browns team. Some people might call for a quarterback change. It's just so tough when you guaranteed him that much money. So I think we're going to try to work with it right now. You know, there's a lot of teams in the NFL that are able to have great seasons or make it far into the playoffs with an average or slightly above average type quarterback. Thinking about that 2013 Ravens team, obviously that defense was one of the greatest of all time, but it's not like Joe Flacco was the best quarterback in the league at that time. So am I saying that the Cleveland Browns can replicate what the Ravens did back then? I'm not sure. They had a great defense last year. It's kind of a little lackluster this year. They've dealt with some injuries, but I think getting tackle here, maybe saving Deshaun Watson's career, who knows? We'll see. Will help them a lot. And I love Kelvin Banks to the Cleveland Browns at pick nine. At 10, we have the Dolphins taking Jonas Savanaia. I also like this pick a lot. I think that even though he is listed at offensive tackle, it's almost guaranteed that he'll slide inside when he goes to the NFL, whether that's guard, whether that's center. I think he's a great addition to the interior offensive line for the Dolphins. Some people could call for quarterback. Maybe there's a Cam Ward, maybe there's a Jalen Milroe that you like. I think this is a completely fine here at Big Ten. Jonas Savania is a great player, and I think he'll probably end up being top 20 in real life. At 11, the Raiders are able to take Benjamin Morrison here at Notre Dame. Similar type deal to Will Johnson, just being extremely technically sound, being a modern day type built cornerback, 6 feet, nearly 200 pounds. Will Johnson's kind of just the Superman of that position, though, being 6'2", 200 plus pounds. So if Benjamin Morrison can maybe bulk up a little bit, try to get similar to what Will Johnson brings, maybe I'll like him a little bit more. But Will Johnson being 6'2" with long arms and being the best technically sound cornerback we've seen in a long time for the draft cycle, that just intrigues me. Benjamin Morrison is not that far behind. I like his aggression a lot, that cornerback position. Sometimes it'll hurt him, but I think for the most part, at pick 11, I consider this a steal. At 12, we have the Colts taking Malachi Starks here out of Georgia. It's another pick I'm cool with. I know safety doesn't usually go too high in the NFL draft, but when you have a guy like Malachi Starks, a couple years ago when you had a guy like Kyle Hamilton, even though he's definitely built a bit differently than Malachi Starks, you have to take these high-level safeties. And I think for the Colts here, while it might not be their number one position, I think Starks has superstar potential written all over him. At 13, we have the Bears addressing edge here in Michael Williams. Now, there's a couple of edges in this class that I can kind of see be that edge one going into April for the drafts. Last year, it was somewhat similar. You had guys like Jared Verse, you had Dallas Turner, you had Leatu Latu, and this year you have guys like Michael Williams, you have Jalen Walker, you're going to have Abdul Carter, and probably a couple guys I'm forgetting off the top of my head, but they're definitely, obviously James Pierce as well. There's definitely a lot of top talented edges in this class. It's going to be interesting to see how high they will go because in the beginning of the draft cycle, we thought guys like James Pierce, like Michael Williams, could be potential number one overall picks. Not all of them are having a great season. If I had to pick anybody to be my edge number one right now, it's probably going to be Abdul Carter, but I think for the long run, I'm okay with Michael Williams here at pick 13. At 14, we have Jim Harbaugh getting his guy in Colston Loveland. Yeah, the Chargers need tight end very, very badly. And we know in Jim Harbaugh's system, where he kind of runs more of an old school style system, at least offensively wise, and he brought his guy from Michigan to be that offensive coordinator, it's clear that this team likes to target that tight end position, or at least that's what it was at Michigan. And I think getting your guy in Colston Loveland, bringing him from Michigan to LA, just like you did with Jim Harbaugh, is something that the Chargers would extremely benefit from. I like this at Big 14. Probably look at this, maybe wide receiver. You have guys like Luther Burden, the third, obviously available, Tetero McMillan, my personal wide receiver one, and even a guy like Emeka Ibuka or Isaiah Bond, I can also see here at pick 14. But I'm cool with Colston Loveland's a lot, and I think there's no problem with that pick. At 15, we do have Tetero McMillan to the Washington Commanders, giving Jaden Daniels his wide receiver too. Now that wide receiver room with the Commanders is kind of iffy right now. Obviously, you have that wide receiver one in Terry McLaurin, one of the most consistent receivers we have in the NFL. I mean, he's been through so many quarterbacks and still putting up basically the same stat line. You have Luke McCaffrey, who's played pretty well this season, at least better than his other brother who hasn't played at all, but he's obviously not one of those top tier receivers. He's definitely a guy you want to put in the slot, be your third target on most of the tries. And I think getting Tetero McMillan being next to Terry McLaurin would help this team a lot. I'd also like to see them maybe target cornerback to Davis, maybe. I could also see Denzel Burke. Obviously, right now, Siobhan Ravel is injured. He tore his ACL. Same thing with Harold Perkins out of LSU. So I don't know if when I make my draft mock draft, I'm going to have them in the mock draft because those injuries are just bad. I think both torn ACLs, and I kind of expect them both to return back to their school to play in the 2025 season. We have James Pierce going to the Buccaneers at pick 16. Again, I'm cool with this. The Buccaneers do need edge help. And like I said, Abdul Carter, Jalen Walker, James Pierce, any of those guys can really be my edge on. Maybe even JT Tuimoloau. Could he end up getting there? Maybe. Who knows? I don't, no idea. But I think right now, having James Pierce at pick 16 is very solid for the Buccaneers. In my opinion, though, I think it's probably better to take Abdul Carter. We have Luther Burden to the Steelers at pick 17. I'm not going to say I have a big problem with this. He hasn't had the most explosive start to this season, but he was very solid last year. The Steelers don't usually take wide receiver, but I think with them continuing to develop Justin Fields to be that all-around type of quarterback, it's time to get him some more weapons. Calvin Austin has been pretty good this season. George Pickens obviously is going to be that X receiver over there. And I think getting a guy like Luther Burden who could stretch out the field would help this team a lot as well. While they haven't historically picked wide receivers, it might start being time to because it looks like you might have your franchise quarterback. I picked 18. Nick Scouton is definitely a guy I completely forgot about in the edge class. And they have him going to my New Orleans Saints. Now, ooh, with the tackles on the board, would be the number one position I picked for the Saints. Obviously, you're going to have Emory Jones still on the board. You have Cam Williams out of Texas, two guys that I could definitely see go here. Edge Hope is definitely going to be interesting as well. Isaiah Foskey just hasn't really been a guy to play too well to start off his career in New Orleans. So whether we give up on him or not, I don't really know. Obviously, you have Cam Jordan, who's aging like crazy. What is he, 35, 36 at this point? So getting a new edge in there is definitely going to be important. But I would rather have Abdul Carter than Nick Scouton. That's just my opinion. But really, I probably would rather take Cam Williams here at pick 18 to tackle out of Texas. I think he has shown great potential. I don't know if he's going to declare this year because he obviously does have more eligibility. But if he was going to, I think he could potentially be a top 10 pick. Jalen Walker is going 19 to the Seahawks. He's not listed at edge for CBS Sports. I guess he can kind of just play all around the field, but I consider him definitely more of an edge right here. I like this for the Seahawks. He's another one of those guys that I could see arguably be that edge number one in this class. I mean, Jalen Walker, Nick Scouton, James Pierce, Mikel Williams, um, Abdul Carter, and that's just five guys on the top of my head. JT Tuimoloau, obviously, like I said before, can maybe get in that conversation as well. There's just a lot of guys that I can see do it. So I like Jalen Walker here, 19 to the Seahawks, and I think those five guys that I mentioned all have great chances to be first round picks. We have Denzel Burke to the Falcons here at pick 20. There's another one that I like. Maybe I could see them address offensive line. Emory Jones, I'm not so sure for them. Cam Williams is obviously a guy I've preached about a little bit. Maybe Tyler Booker or Donovan Jackson here. I picked 20 to be more of an interior guy, but I do like adding Denzel Burke. He's a guy that I think is going to rise his stock a lot from what it was last year. Last year he was a mid second rounder, maybe it's a late second rounder. This year I think he has a great chance to be a solidified first rounder, and I think he has the opportunity to potentially be that third cornerback off the board, or maybe go in the top 15. We have Walter Nolan go to the Jets at pick 21. They do need interior defensive lineman help, but I think with Shador Sanders, or not Shador Sanders, excuse me, with Cam Ward on the clock, with Jalen Milroe on the clock, two quarterbacks that I think have a great chance at being the number one overall pick, it might be time to thinking about a replacement for Aaron Rodgers. This could be his last year in the NFL. I mean, he's 40 years old, so you have to pick a replacement sooner or later. Maybe you're looking for a guy who's more experienced. Maybe try to trade for somebody. Maybe look to pick somebody up from free agency. But I think you cannot go wrong with Cam Ward or Jalen Milroe here at pick 21. I don't know if I'd rather take them over Walter Nolan, but that's definitely a thought I could have in the back of my head. Abdul Carter finally goes here at 22. A lot of guys I could see go for the Bengals here at 22. I could see them go receiver. I could see them address cornerback. I could also, like us with Abdul Carter, see them take edge. But I think with Abdul Carter's value, in my opinion, being a potential top 10 pick, it's a steal at 22. And I like this a lot for the Cincinnati Bengals. We have Lander Barton, the first linebacker. So he has safety and linebacker going in the first round of this mock draft. Interesting. I'm assuming he has running back too with you know who from Boise State. But yes, the Packers can definitely address linebacker. I'm cool with this. I think linebackers are so undervalued in the NFL drafts. I know they'll go second, third, and fourth round, but I think if there's a linebacker up to par that's going to be able to play high at the next level, I think you should take him in the first round. We've seen it before. We've seen it work before. We've seen it not work before. And I think anyway, if he's that good, you should be able to take him in the first round. So I'm cool with Lander Barton here to the Packers at pick 23. At 24, we do have Ashton Jeanty to the Dallas Cowboys. And boy, if they get another offensive weapon, are we going to be scared? Because Ashton Jeanty has been basically the Heisman so far this season. On a top 25, maybe their top 20 at this point team in Boise State, 845 rushing yards in what is this, 4 or 5 weeks? 10.3 yards per carry and 13 rushing touchdowns. I don't even know what's going on. Last week he had 200 plus yards, 4 touchdowns on the ground, averaging what, 12 yards per carry. I mean, this guy's absolutely insane. In my personal opinion, if I had to do it right now, I would give him the Heisman. I mean, this team is a team that, if they beat Oregon, which they barely lost to a couple weeks ago, they could be a top 10 team in college football. I don't think we should take that away from them because Ashton Genty's been that good. But I think him constantly breaking all these records in college football for rushing, I would personally give him the Heisman at this point. Harold Perkins is here at 25. Um, I just don't think he goes or declares for this 2025 NFL draft. The torn ACL is going to set him back. I think he has a great chance declaring next year, possibly. Maybe not. I'm not going to say pick a specific position because we know he could play all over the field. Fields, he could play interior linebacker. He could play exterior linebacker, coverage linebacker, off ball. He could rush the quarterback. He could play safety. He could play nickel at some point too. We haven't seen it too much, but I believe he's able to do that as well. But yeah, just staying back in college another year, maybe getting your specific positional value up will probably help him a lot. I think he's for sure a first round guy, and I think he's one of probably the most versatile defender we have in this class. I know there's Travis Hunter over there, but he's definitely right up to par in terms of the positions he's able to play on the field. Not on the offensive side of the ball, but definitely on the defensive side of the ball. And I think if he wasn't hurt, he'd be a lock for the first round for me. Tyler Booker to the Vikings here at pick 26. I mean, this team is crazy. Vikings are definitely one of the surprises here in the 2024 NFL season. Interior offensive line's cool. Donovan Jackson, Tyler Booker. Honestly, I'm fine with both. We have Tyleek Williams to the Houston Texans at pick 27. Another one that I'm fairly cool with. Just adding to that young core of defensive linemen in Will Anderson, I think would help that Texans team a lot. I like Tyleek Williams out of Ohio State, and I think this is a very solid pick for the Houston Texans. JT Tuimoloau actually gets into the first round. I didn't really expect that. I thought he's definitely more of a second round guy. For me, he's an early second round guy. Interesting though. I would not really consider him a first round guy at this point, but I guess that the Lions do need edge help. Have all of my big time edges have gone off the board. Let's see, you have Carter being one. I had five of them, so I just count them off. Jalen Walker being two, Pierce is three. I think yeah, Michael Williams four, and then Abdul Carter five. Right? I think all of our guys came off the board if I'm not mistaken. So Tuimoloau, guess I'm cool with. But yeah, I'm just kind of surprised to see him in the first round. At pick 26, we have Decario Davis to the Buffalo Bills. Couple guys that are not off the board yet that I might want to see the Bills target. You have Keon Coleman, you have Khalil Shakir to be that future wide receiver core. I'm not going to include Matt Collins. I'm not going to include Curtis Samuel because I don't know if they're going to be there for the long run. But maybe getting a guy like Emeka Egbuka, a guy like Isaiah Bond to add to that receiving core can help them a lot. And I can also see the pull taking to Carriel Davis. I like him a lot out of Arizona. I think he can go a lot higher than this as well. Potentially argue for that cornerback three spot if you consider Travis Hunter a receiver. I think he can go right behind guys like Will Johnson and Benjamin Morrison. At pick 30, we're going to have Evan Stewart from Oregon. Yeah, it's definitely a bit interesting to see him go above guys like Emeka Egbuka and Isaiah Bonds. I know they're probably just looking for that deep threat receiver guy that can stretch the field, and that's kind of the guys that the Ravens have looked for in the last couple of drafts. So I guess I could see maybe not taking Egbuka, but I think Isaiah Bond here at pick 30 is definitely someone I'd take over Evan Stewart. Emory Jones to the San Francisco 49ers here at pick 31. Oh boy, do I like this a lot. I think Emory Jones can go top 15, maybe even top 10 in the NFL draft, and him at 31 is an absolute steal. And finally, at 32, the Chiefs get another Texas receiver, Isaiah Bonds. Rasheed Rice, I don't know what's happening with him. Is he has a torn ACL? Does he not have a torn ACL? Is he out for the season? Is he not? We have no idea. Xavier Worthy has been very good so far this season. He's going to have a bigger role too with Rasheed Rice out. There are other receivers. Hollywood Brown, he just has a season-ending injury. So is he going to be part of your long-term plans or not? I don't know if he'll come back in the playoffs, but I'm talking about regular season-ending injury. If he does not fare well in the playoffs, is he back with this team? I'm not sure. But getting a guy like Isaiah Bond to maybe replace him, I'm pretty cool with. So that's gonna be it for this mock draft. Hope you guys enjoyed. I thought this was pretty solid. Make sure to like, subscribe, go into the description, submit your video ideas, and I'll see you guys next time with another NFL mock draft reaction. Peace.